Hello，大家好，歡迎嚟到我哋 Wall Street English 嘅 online IELTS 講座。咁我係今日嘅其中一個主持，我係 Helen 喺呢邊嘅課程顧問嚟嘅。咁坐喺我隔離呢一位咧，就係我哋另外一個課程顧問啦，佢叫做 Charlie。咁另外我哋今日都會有我哋嘅升級導師 Leo 陣間同我哋做個示範嘅，係啦。咁我哋講一講今日其實 IELTS 呢個講座我哋會做啲咩先啦。其實我哋咧都會同大家講解下譬如讀書移民啦，同埋 IELTS 嘅關係嘅。係啦，咁跟住就會由 Leo 啦去教下大家一啲 IELTS 嘅 tips， 然之後最後我哋都會講解下我哋呢邊有啲咩課程去幫翻唔同嘅同學仔去改善佢哋 IELTS 嘅成績嘅。
其實想問下，有冇係想投資移民㗎？其實，
如果你哋有係譬如有興趣投資移民啦，可以譬如喺個 chat box 度講，或者你哋用嘅都可以喺個 chat box 度同我哋講一講嘅。
I see any chat box at this point？ 我未必有。OK， 好。咁但係咧都講一講啦。其實大致上啦，投資移民咧，其實如果你話我哋用4個國家，咁多數啲同學都係睇呢4個國家嘅。咁其實咧，你就睇翻大致上，其實咧，因為都係3.3分啦 ，all band 3、all band 3啦，同埋4分5分咯，係啦。因為其實 IELTS 咧係冇分合唔合格呢樣嘢，其實基本上如果一個人做到基本對答到咧，其實已經大概有4.5至5分左右噶啦。所以咧，咁因為投資移民嘅你嘅 amount 要 invest 要比較多啦，咁所以就自然英文要求唔需要咁高嘅。咁跟住咧喺技術移民嗰方面啦，我不如用澳洲嗰個為例啦。咁其實喺不嬲嘅話咧，大家知道技術移民其實會睇計分制啊，我哋玩係啦。咁你見到例如會睇啲咩咧？嗱，年齡啦嗰方面，即係如果你嘅年齡越大，可能有機會個分數就會扣翻分嘅，係啦。咁但係亦都會計你嘅工作嘅經驗，咁當然你年紀越大，你工作經驗就會越多，又會加翻分嘅喎喺嗰個位度。咁另外都會睇，例如你假設啦，我哋用澳洲為例啦，有冇喺澳洲讀過書啊、做過嘢啊，呢都有關係嘅。咁大家都聽過，其實咧，你見到我上面呢個寫住技術移民啦，即係攞自己嘅專門啊、專業啊，係啦。咁其實一般嚟講咧，65分。基本有長段係啦，咁當然你越攞高分就越好啦。你都聽過身邊可能有啲人攞80分以上啦，或者過100分我都聽過嘅。咁但係咧，你會知道點解同 IELTS 有關，就係因為喺英文嘅條件方面咧，你見到如果你攞 all band 6嘅話咧，其實你嘅分數係0分，即係話最基本都一定要攞4.6。係啦，咁但係如果你攞 all band 7咧，我就加你10分；你攞 all band 8就加20分。所以之前咧，我哋呢度所有學生我都係個有aim for 嚟4條7啊，或者4條8啊。咁當然其實一陣講解下7分同8分嘅分別咯。但係都想問下大家之前有冇試過都用下技術移民呢個方法啊，或者自己有分數都計過嘅？都有嘅係咪啊？好。咁我哋再睇一睇下一個啦。咁我下一個 slide 咧就會想講嘅就係讀書移民啦。咁因為最近大家都應該聽好多，例如係救生艇 program 呢個加拿大同埋澳洲，而家係講呢2個國家係啦。咁因為 BNO 嗰度就可以嘅咁樣。咁其實大致上咧，我唔講太多，因為我只需要想講一講咧，就係佢分咗，其實你 IELTS 嗰度，即係畢咗業後 ，sorry 啊，個年齡嗰度有呢個限制，其實50歲以下都已經可以嘅。咁個學生簽證咧，其實就係6個月啦，或者12個月啦。左邊同右邊嘅話就係graduate 啦，同埋 post study work stream 嘅，係啦。咁其實咧，我直接講一講 IELTS 要需要攞幾多分。其實你見到 IELTS 係要攞6分嘅 ，OK， 係啦。咁咩叫單項不低於5咧？即係代表我頭先講 all band 一定要攞5咯，係啦。即係你平均分嘅話，你有啲卷可以攞6.5啊、7分啊嗰啲都冇問題，但係總之每一項唔可以低過5咯，係啦。OK， 咁跟住之後咧就講一講係加拿大嗰個啦。而家大家有成日聽 Stream A 同 Stream B 嘅 program 啦。咁 Stream A 嘅話咧就其實簡單啲嚟講，就俾啲同學過去讀咗書先，係啦。你可以讀個 diploma 啦，你可以讀一啲專業啲嘅課程啦，係啦，即係 certificate 嗰啲啦，或者你可以讀一個 master。 但係點解唔可以讀一個 degree 咧？其實係因為呢個 program 咧有個 deadline 嘅，係啦。咁所以咧，你個課程如果你讀4年嘅話咧，就應該趕唔切去申請咯。係啦，除非你讀完一個 diploma 之後再去讀一個 degree，咁唔會影響到你申請 PR 嗰方面嘅。OK，咁呢個嘅話咧，加拿大成日都聽到啲人應該會講 CLB 嘅。咁 Helen 你知唔知道其實 CLB 係真係乜嘢咧
？CLB 好似係加拿大嘅一個英文計分方法係咪啊？
係咯，咁佢入邊例如除咗係 IELTS 陣時，仲有個係咩啊？
仲有一個就係 CELPIT 啦
，CELPIT 啦，同埋法文嗰啲都會有關嘅。咁所以咧，其實咧，大家最容易咧，其實真係 IELTS 嘅。因為我頭先都講啦，其實一個人基本溝通做到嘅話，其實4.5至5分真係唔難攞。咁何況咧，佢要 CLB 5嘅話咧，其實我一陣會講一講 CLB 5大概個分數都係5分左右。除咗有份卷係攞4.5，一陣再講一講。係啦，咁其實咧喺呢度嘅話咧，你完成咗之後，你就可以去申請 PR 㗎啦。咁你留意翻，可能大致上個 time frame 啦，要申請都需要時間啊咁嘅。所以咧，如果再詳情唔清楚自己個 timeline 嘅話咧，之後可以問一問我哋啲課程顧問，我哋會因應翻你想幾時過去啊，咁我哋幫你去排翻個 study plan，同埋到時你會更加清楚自己究竟幾時攞到個分數咯，好冇？咁另外 Stream B 嗰度咧，其實就係俾啲同學可能我喺香港啱啱完成咗個 master 啊，總之你喺過往咧3年裡面啦，咁其實你即係總之你完成咗畢業啦，咁你只需要過去做嘢咯，係啦，咁所以咧呢個 requirement 嘅話，你就睇一睇翻，係啦，咁都係嗰句啦，如果詳情嘅話，俾翻海外升學顧問或者移民 agent 會比較好少少嘅，因為佢哋有啲牌子嗰方面係啦，咁但係都係嗰句 IELTS 都係要攞 CLB 5。OK， 好，咁其實咧，如果你話分數都大家俾一個指標啦，咁如果移民嘅話咧，其實咧頭先我都講，你去讀 diploma， 即係好似喺香港你讀一個文憑，即係例如阿蘇啊、副學士啊嗰啲，其實一般嚟講咧個分數咧只需要大概5分至5.5分，視乎大學需要求，係啦。咁但係咧亦都有啲 program 咧就可能需要攞6.5分或者7分啦。就算即係例如Helen知唔知有啲乜？最近成日都可能有啲學校都需要攞7分啊嗰啲。
你話 program
係一啲 program。
其實如果 program 大路，譬如你去外國嘅話 ，engineering 啦，或者譬如啲 science 嘅科目收分都比較高嘅，或者好多同學仔會想去外國讀 nursing 啊，咁嘅話講都要講 all band 7分咁樣。
係啊，咁點解有啲同學哇明知咁難攞7分都要 nursing 咧？係因為你都想過到去即係揾份準工㗎嘛，咁所以其實係你知道嗰個行業嘅需求比較大，你就會想讀翻嗰樣嘢，咁自然就容易啲揾工咯，係啦。咁所以你哋有冇同學仔而家最近係睇緊一啲學校有冇話個 program 要攞幾多分？大家清唔清楚？或者我未要去做 research 嘅，但係例如 Charlie 我想讀廚嘅，通常要攞幾多分啊？咁樣你哋有冇人都想問一問？係可以喺個 chat box 度去問一問嘅，咁我一陣都可以答翻你嘅。而家暫時未有㗎。PhD program 係咪啊？PhD program 嘅話咧，都係嗰句其實一般嚟講 PhD 嘅一定要起碼6.5係最基本啦，一定可能要7分添啊，直情係啦。咁因為好簡單嘅，我不如用香港讀入大學為例。你喺香港你想讀3大，你就自然要攞高分啲㗎啦。但係當然每一個大學佢個學科都會唔同嘅，即係例如我想讀 business 嘅。我想讀 global business，global business 同 business 已經爭好大個分別咯，個分數係啦。咁 master 嘅話，多數都係6.5至7分，所以你睇翻你哋個 program 啦，係啦。佢最緊要個 make sure 佢就寫住 all band 啦，定係 overall 咯，好冇？或者你哋如果之後咧，你哋有啲大學我哋個課程顧問都可以同你 recommend 下咯。OK， 咁跟住之後咧就會交俾Sir Helen 啦去講一講解，即係我哋呢度 Wall Street 啦 ，English 點樣可以幫到你哋啦，係啦，因為我哋都好多同學其實坦白講，未過嚟之前咧都考過好多次 IELTS 啊，咁硬係爭緊某份卷啊，或者真係唔知個遊戲玩法啊咁樣，因為始終我就算生活上成日都講英文，但係 spoken English 係 spoken English 咯，你睇 Netflix 嗰啲唔會幫到你太多 academic 嗰方面嘅嘢，只會可能係 標緊你啲生字啊，或者可能簡單句子結構嗰方面啊咁樣。咁所以我哋就交俾 Helen 啦，而家係。
好，咁其實咧，我哋學校咧就會有好多唔同嘅IELTS班啦，去幫唔同需要嘅同學仔嘅。咁 before 我講可能in depth 去講每一個班有啲咩特別之處嘅之前咧，其實Leo 老師都會幫手去做一個試堂啦，俾同學仔體驗一下，譬如呢邊讀書究竟係點樣幫到手嘅。咁我略略講一講我哋其實嗰個學校，譬如一啲老師啊，我哋有啲咩團隊先啦。咁其實咧，我哋學校咧基本上所有 IELTS 嘅老師咧都係一個 native English speaker 嚟嘅，咁係啦，咁同埋佢哋都會有相關嘅教書嘅資格啦，咁同埋大部分嘅老師咧都已經係教咗超過好多年㗎啦，咁甚至會有啲係真係有40年嘅教學經驗添嘅，同埋亦都有唔少老師咧其實已經係之前有做過 examiner 嘅，係啦，咁所以陣間我哋都會交由 Leo 去就俾大家睇下我哋呢一邊嘅老師有幾好啦。咁咧，其實我哋讀書呢一邊咧，我哋會分咗做15個 program 去上堂嘅。咁我哋陣間呢個會再詳細同大家講。咁或者我而家 pass 俾 Leo，等 Leo 講俾你知，譬如有啲咩巧妙可以攞到 IELTS 高分啲啦。
Okay, so we are actually going to go over some tips today for some of the, well, actually parts of the exam. So you know that the exam involves speaking, listening, reading, writing. So does anyone know any other details about the exam itself? You can type in the chat box. I think someone just typed. That's right. Yes, you have the computer version. Yes, and the paper version. Okay, great. So we are going to get started right away. It is difficult. Yes, it depends.
It's just difficult to aim for 7, but if you're like aim for 5, I think it's not that hard.
Yes, I think most people can actually achieve a 5 easily. Yeah. Okay, so the 4 parts. So first we will look at listening. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of information. You don't actually need to remember everything. It is just an overview so that you sort of have some idea about what the exam is about. So there are 4 parts to the listening part. And so what you need to know here is you might be sometimes be listening to one speaker, or it could be more than one speaker. And there are different types of questions that you need to answer. Sometimes you have to do some labeling or answering some multiple choice questions or writing down some words for the answers. So I guess that's where the difficulty is for some students because they're not very good at spelling, for example. And also they need to be mindful of capitalization. Sorry. There it is. Sorry. Okay, so let's just keep going. Okay, so you can have a quick look at the types of questions that you might be doing in the exam. So you see some blanks here where you have to fill in some words. Okay, you have to label a diagram, multiple choice questions. So today we are going to look at this simple table question. So tables are my favorite because you have the labels for each column telling you what to listen for, right? So before they actually play the audio, they'll give you some time, maybe about 30 to 40 seconds to look at the questions. And this is where you start to think about what kind of words you need. So you're going to predict, for example, under material, you have food, paper, metal, and then here is a word that you need. So this is, if you know anything about grammar, this is a noun, right? So a noun is a person, place, or a thing. Time to biodegrade. So under this column, you can see that you need some sort of time. So that means for answer 3, the answer for number 3 and number 7, you need some sort of number. And then under notes here, so some extra detail is given here. So you need some sort of condition, right? So if you know anything about grammar, again, here you need an adjective, possibly, right? And here you see a percentage here, a number. So this is the kind of thing that you can do. You also need to be very careful about reading the instructions. So it says here, no more than one word and or a number, okay? So clearly what you put down cannot be over this limit. And finally, one more thing is whatever you put down, it has to be directly from the audio, okay? So you cannot put down anything that was not said. Okay, so we are gonna try and do this together. But does anyone have any questions before I play the audio?
I got one.
Okay.
Like for the IELTS listening,
Yes.
is it true that you will have like different accents, like not necessarily British, but even European or even like Indian?
Yes. Yeah. So it's something that's so in the exam they don't really, so they sort of preach that English is a language that's spoken all over the world. So you know you sort of have to listen to different accents. So it's possible that you'll be listening to people with different accents. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Okay, so I'm going to play the audio and please listen carefully and try to listen for these answers here. Okay.
Over to you, Peter.
Thanks, Sue. Yes, the other thing is that it can take an incredible.
Wait, can everyone hear the audio? Okay, so I'll continue.
Incredibly long time for rubbish to break. That is to break down and decay. Just to give you an idea, food and other organic material is the quickest to biodegrade. A loaf of bread decays in about 20 days, for example, as long as the conditions are right. We throw away tons of newspapers and packaging, and paper takes anything from 3 months to a year to biodegrade, but the conditions have to be damp. In dry conditions, it can last for decades. Metals take even longer, obviously. Most, like tin or iron, can take anything between 1 and 10 years.
But that doesn't apply to aluminium, does it? And 80% of soft drink cans are made of aluminium.
No, that's right. Aluminium is a special problem because it doesn't rust. So recycling is really the only answer. And another major problem is plastics. There are 80 different types for a start. Scientists think that a typical item like a bottle could take 100 years to decay. But as plastic has only been around for about a century, we can only really guess. And the longest lasting of all is glass. We know from archaeological evidence that glass can survive for at least 4,000 years, and who knows, maybe longer.
Okay, so that's the end of the audio. So let's see, did you get any of the answers? Did anyone get the answer for number 3? Can you type in the chat box? For food, how long does it take to biodegrade?
Help them get a prize.
Maybe 20 days, okay. So I think like all the answers will pop up all together. So maybe I'll just gather all the answers that you have first before I show you the answers. For number 4, what kind of condition is required for paper to biodegrade? What kind of condition? Actually, I have prizes for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have like
IELTS
tip book. Yes.
Okay.
So we will send it out for later. Okay, or you can
deliver to your home.
So congratulations for just answer the right
Roll
question.
call.
Roll call. Okay, you got one.
Okay, so it needs dry. So someone said dry condition. Okay, we'll see in a moment if it's dry condition. So for metal, excluding aluminum used in, what's the percentage of aluminum used in? Okay, so someone said 80%. So we'll take note of these answers. And what is the other material that was mentioned?
Try to guess. It's okay if you're wrong.
Starts with P. Okay, bottle. Okay. Okay, and well, bottle unfortunately is not a material, right? So, and then finally, glass. How much time does it take? Okay, good. So someone said 1,000 years. Okay, so I'm going to reveal the answers. Okay, so we need.
Over to you, Peter.
Oops, sorry.
Thanks, Sue. Yes, the other.
Okay, good. So for number 3, yes, 20 days. So number 4, actually, it's the opposite of dry. It is damp conditions. Okay, so meaning wet. And then here, 80%. Yes, someone got the answer for that one. And finally, 4,000 years.
I got a question. So, is it a must for them to have like write in capital letter, or like what if I even the plural or singular?
Yeah, very good question. You just get it wrong. Unfortunately, yes. Okay, so they are actually very strict about capitalization and correctness when you are filling in the words. So there's actually one important thing you need to remember regarding spelling is if you're doing the written version of the exam, at the end, you actually have 10 minutes for you to move all the answers to the answer sheet. So that is when you sort of double check this, okay? So when you're actually listening, you do not want to be thinking about the spelling too much because the audio is played only one time. So if you miss the answer, then it's gone for good. Yeah.
So unlike like DSE or HKTE, usually you pause and let you to write. They just keep on going.
That's right. They'll just play the audio for that whole part.
So that's why you need to be very fast.
Yeah, so the answers also sometimes come quite suddenly. So you just really need to be focusing on listening, okay? Right. And just remember, you need to put down the exact word that was mentioned. So they said plastics. So you need to put that down here. So thank you for your questions, Charlie. But does anyone have any questions here? So feel free to type in the chat box if you have any questions. But meanwhile, we will just, the key takeaway here. Making the right guess is getting half the answers. Yes. So remember, you always try to predict the answers before you do the listening. Okay, so another tip here is they will often try to track you. So it's something called distractors. They will mention all the options here. For example, here, what is the fee for the black and white photography course? So they will mention 85 pounds, 140 pounds, but you need to know what is the fee for this particular course, the black and white photography course. So what you can do is you can also underline words. You can underline words in the to help you focus. Okay, so let's take a listen and see what the price is for the black and white course. So I'm gonna play the audio. Oh, someone asked why plastics has S. So it's because sometimes you can put S because it's they're talking about different types of plastic. So that's why there's an S, yes. Yes, okay, so let's start. So I'm gonna play the audio now.
Have you heard of it?
Share. I think I need to share from here. Okay. We can turn up the speaker and they can hear from the speaker, right? So
just have to check. Right, introducing photography, that's, yes, £95. Black and white's the same, I think. No, I tell a lie, it's a bit less actually, £85. And then landscape and digital, they're both £140.
Gosh, that's a bit steep, isn't it?
Okay. Anyway, so they're showing you the answer here. I think you have an idea now, right? So they try to distract you with the other courses and the other prices. It is. Yeah, that's the whole point. They try to trick. No, not really. There. So I guess the way you look at the IELTS exam is they're actually testing for your ability to communicate, right? So, I mean, if you're studying to become a nurse and if you cannot understand someone, that is a big problem, right? So they cannot make everything like super straightforward for you. Okay. So next we're going to reading. So reading is kind of fun. I find it kind of fun. The students don't.
Yeah.
But there is a slight difference between academic and general training. So general training is mostly easier because you're not reading as much, okay? But you are still going to read an article at the end. So the whole thing is 60 minutes. You need to answer 40 questions. If you do the math, it's 1.5 minutes per question, okay? So for most people, the problem is time management, okay? Because they're not used to reading, they read very slowly, and they cannot get to the answers quick enough. So both GT and academic, 3 sections. And so you have different types of articles, but you just need to know that they get increasingly difficult towards the end, okay? But for general training, you just need to read something short like an ad, an advertisement, or like some sort of regulation, right? So clearly less words that you need to be reading. But in the end, you still have an article. So what about the grading between the 2 different papers? So for academic, if you want to get a band 7, you just need to score about 30 to 32 points. Whereas GT, to score a 7, you need 34 to 35, okay? Because generally their answers are easier, their questions are easier, so they're aiming for a higher standard. Okay, so the key takeaway, academic, more challenging materials, general training, lower margin of error. Okay, so again, lots and lots of different question types that we'll be going over in the course. Okay, so a lot of different things, multiple choice, true, false, not given. Okay. Okay, but today we're just going to do a simple exercise. We want to look at this article. It's called The Walking School Bus. So here, how long do you think it takes for you to read this? So here, I think it's showing 2 paragraphs, right? So can you just put in the comments, chat box, how long does it take you? 3 minutes. Okay, sure. 3 minutes, not too bad, not too bad.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah, but it would be
30 seconds.
would be best if you can, yeah, do it in as short amount of time as possible. 5 ... Okay, good. So again, like you don't want to be spending too much time reading because you only have 1.5 minutes per question. So what we're going over today is we want to show you a special skill called sampling. So don't try to read everything, go for the main ideas. Okay, so here's this paragraph, right? So who can tell me in, I don't know, 2 words what this paragraph is about?
2 words.
Yeah, in 2 words. So here it says school bus. Okay. Travel safely. Way to go to school. Okay. So some good guesses here. Yeah, good. Okay, Cindy did very well here. So usually what we do is we look at what the first sentence, okay? The first 1 or 2 sentences of the body paragraph usually tells you what the paragraph is about, okay? So this is what is called the topic sentence. So the walking school bus concept originated in 1998 in St. Albans, England. Okay, so here you can tell that this paragraph wants to talk to you about the development or the history of this walking school bus. And that's it. You don't really have to read the rest of it. You just need to know this is about the history development. So when a question comes up about this, the history, right, or the development, you know that you should come to paragraph C to find the answer. What about this paragraph? Let's try to read the topic sentence and tell me, what is this paragraph about?
Again, if you answer it correctly, we will give you a free IELTS tip book. Anyone? Advantages.
Okay, good. Yeah, so health, right? Good, health benefits. Yeah, so health benefits is actually what this paragraph is about, because one advantage is regular physical exercise. Good. Yeah, it's also about an advantage. Excellent.
So are you saying basically we just need to read every first sentence of each paragraph or each sentence?
No.
The last sentence.
No. But what I'm saying is in the beginning, when you look at the whole article, this is something that you can do to help you gain like an overall idea, okay, about where you can find certain information. So the key is really figuring out how the information is organized in the article.
Okay.
So yeah, so all the things that you're trying to do is try to get to the answer faster.
Okay.
Yeah. But of course, it's not as easy as this, because you know the final article is a bit tricky. Yeah, usually. Okay, but let's do this one. So choose no more than 3 words and or number from the passage for each answer. So again, something important about the instructions, you should always read instructions, kind of searching the main point on the paragraph. Yes. So from the passage means you need to take the exact words from the text. So that means you cannot change the words in any way. That could work to your advantage sometimes, because you can use grammar to help you figure out what kind of word you need, right? Anyway, so who should walk at the back of the walking school bus, and when did the idea of the walking school bus begin? So the first question is clearly talking about the structure, right? Or how this walking school bus works. And the second one is about the origin. So let's go back to the origin. So here, very quickly, you know that you should go to paragraph C, and then you should look for the answer here. Okay, so we won't spend too much time doing this, but the first question asking about a person, second asking about a time. Okay, so we know from paragraph C, let's talk about the origin, 1998. Easy as that. So sometimes it's really as easy as this, okay? So a very simple skill that you can use. Okay, before we move on, any questions about reading? Yeah, so pine is correct. You sort of need to know what each paragraph is mainly about. Children, the UK. Okay, let's move on to writing first. So writing is actually kind of challenging for a lot of students, mainly because there are again variations. Okay, so when you're looking at general training and academic, they are slightly different. So there are two parts to the writing task, part 1, part 2. And the writing task 1 is different, okay, between the two different papers. So in the general training paper, you're only writing a letter, whereas in the academic paper, you are writing sort of like a report. And then writing task 2 is the same. You need to write an essay. So I'm sure some of you have written essays before, right, when you were in school. But writing task 1, I would say, is a bit trickier. You also need to know what you are being graded on, okay? So this is something that we also go over in the course because, again, examiners are looking for very specific things. So that's why some people, they actually are very good English users, but they still cannot achieve the score that they want. Like Charlie mentioned the nurses, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of nurses actually cannot get a 7 for this reason. Okay, because they actually are not aware of what the examiners want from them. Okay, so here are the 4 things. Task achievement, that means are you fully answering the question? Coherence, cohesion, coherence and coherence. Should be, sorry about that, should be coherence and cohesion. So that means how well your writing is structured. Lexical resource is just a fancy name for vocabulary. Grammatical resources, so that means your use of grammar, which includes actually tons of things, okay? But again, things that we need to go over in the course. So here are some examples of the question for writing task 1 for the general training paper. And then here are the writing task 1s for the academic paper. So you can see like some people might be caught by surprise if they did not prepare for this, right? They are wondering, how am I going to describe this? And here are the essay questions. Okay, so in the course, we actually need to also go over the different types of essay questions asked because answers will be slightly different. So depending on the type of question that you get. So again, this is one of the parts where people might not get their score, the score that they want, because they failed to answer the question. Okay, so here is a question for writing task 2. So this is about the environment. And so some say that's the loss of a particular species of plants and animals. And others say that there are more important environmental problems. Okay, so the question is discuss both these views and give your opinion. So here, can I draw?
Yes.
Okay, so can anyone tell me what the 2 views are? So you need to discuss these views. Give your opinion. Illustrating diagrams super difficult. Yes, I agree with you. So here, does anyone know what the 2 views are here in the question?
Anyone?
Okay, so one view is that the main problem is the loss of particular species of plants and animals. The other view is that there are more important environmental problems. So if you cannot identify these 2 views, you are not going to do well on the exam, okay? So you need to know exactly what the 2 views are that you need to discuss, and you need to discuss both these views. So another thing is, you know, students might not read the whole question, they just discuss one view. That is another way that you can get a lower score. Okay, and also give your opinion. Sometimes some students don't give their opinion. Another way to lose score. So there are all these traps again, but again, they're not trying to trap you, but they just want to see how well you're able to communicate and be able to follow instructions. Environmental expert. No, you actually don't need to be an expert. So remember, another thing you need to remember is they're not testing for any sort of expert knowledge. They just want to know whether you're able to talk about this topic on a general level, right?
But do I need to use a lot of fancy words in that category?
Fancy word. So that's a very tricky question. So depending on the score that you want, okay? So if you're aiming for a higher score, then yes, you need to be using more complex or sophisticated vocabulary. But in the end, you want to be, your writing has to be easy to follow. So it doesn't matter even if you're using complex vocabulary, your writing has to be easy to follow. Okay, so someone needs to be able to read that and understand it easily. Okay. Anyway, so here we also need to teach students what the structure of the writing is. So you have 4 paragraphs, starting with the intro, body paragraph 1 to conclusion. But a question for all of you is, which paragraph do you think causes the most trouble for our candidates? Or maybe you ladies can think.
Intro.
intro.
Why is that intro?
The intro.
I think intro is the easiest one.
Is the easiest one? Okay.
I think.
Right. Okay. Because, sorry.
Because, you know, they got word limits, and I feel like it's the hardest part is like body 1, 2, because you write lots of words and it becomes less organized.
You're right.
And went too far.
Yes, that is because due to a lack of planning, right? So planning is actually another thing that we need to go over in the course. Okay, so you know exactly what you should be writing, and again, there's a time limit, right? 40 minutes, and there's a word limit as well. So sorry, minimum number of words that you need to write. But I guess what you need to know is, does that mean the more words you write, the better it is? No, actually, no. It's kind of like the opposite, and I'll explain in a moment why.
Oh, I got one question. I heard
Yes.
a rumor that if you write like over like too many words, is it true that the examiner will deduct your mark for writing too many words?
I don't know. It's a secret. I cannot reveal that secret. No, just
Until
kidding.
you join us, right?
Just kidding. I don't know. It's not like a written thing, but it's possible you might get penalized, but not because you're writing too much, but because you're not using language efficiently. Okay, so when you're doing the writing, you're thinking, how can I say the most with the least number of words? That's what you should be thinking.
The perfect number of words. Like
perfect number?
Less
about
than 280.
Yeah, so within 250 to 300, I think would be perfect. So about 270 to 80 would be best.
So that's why I always teach my students for a tip that you need to make sure like how many words your handwriting usually per sentence. So it's easier for you to count your wordings, like because everyone they have different sizes in their writing. Right. This is my tip.
Yes. Yeah. That's
so
right.
Just multiply by the lines that you write.
Yeah. So ideally, you should be making longer sentences about. I think a nice complex sentence would be about 16 to 17 words. So you just multiply that by the number of sentences that you need to make. Yeah, so roughly speaking, in the body paragraphs, you need to be making about 4 to 5 sentences each, to make up for the word count.
And I feel like the most difficult part for the writing is the topics are really diverse. And that's why later on we will tell you like, we're not just teaching you guys about the examination skills, but most importantly is how you have a better ideas of different vocabulary or even content. For example, pros and cons of like online learning. So you need to have these concepts in order to have a good writing. Yes. So that's also makes us so different than the other course.
Yeah, so yeah, vocabulary is actually quite important, but it's not as difficult as you may think, because I know a lot of you actually know a lot of words already. So what we do in the course is try to block that knowledge that you already have in your brain so that you can make use of the words that you know, okay, to talk about different topics. Okay, so let's do this part. So you're right, actually, whoever said introduction, Pine, right? The intro. So for a lot of students, they struggle with the intro because they're not sure how to start, right? And they're not sure what they're supposed to do in the intro. But the intro, you should spend the least time on. As we mentioned, your body paragraphs should be the longest. Not too many points can write on this length. Yes, so the key is you need to understand what each sentence you're making is doing in the paragraph. Is it an example? Are you giving an example? Are you talking about a result, right? Is this the topic sentence? You need to know exactly what each sentence is doing, because again, we're talking about communication, right? Okay, so the intro is pretty important because you're trying to answer the question, okay? And yeah, but candidates find it hard to get started. So I will just go over the magic formula that we can use.
Get your pen and also paper.
Yeah, so I can tell you this only if you don't share with other people. No, just kidding. So the 3-sentence intro. So the first sentence is the background sentence, right? And then the second sentence is paraphrasing a question. And then finally, you need what is called the thesis statement. So in this case, your opinion, okay? You have to give your opinion in the intro. Why? You might be asking, why? Okay, it's because in the marking scheme, there is a very specific point about this, okay? That it says your position, your opinion has to be clear throughout the essay. So that's why in the intro, you should already make this very clear. Anyway, so what is the background sentence? So the background sentence is something that you can say about this topic that most people would agree with. Okay, so it would be best if that it is about this topic. So something about the environment, right? Okay, guys, is there another word that we can use to talk about the environment?
Tell them a price.
Okay,
price
sure.
for you.
Yes.
I can show it. So this is the original IELTS textbook from Wall Street English. Okay, there are lots of good tips on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who got it right,
Yes.
and then he will deliver it to you.
Yeah, I've seen these books. They're pretty good.
It's so good. And it costs like how much? Like 100.
Around 100.
$100 at the
Okay.
bookstore.
20. Sorry, Pine, are you answering
20.
$20? Okay, anyway, so environment. Okay, so when you think about, there's a word that starts with N. Starts with N. You all should know this word.
Okay. I think I know that one.
N-A.
Natural disaster.
Okay, but we're talking about nature. Okay, so this is what, so you know the word nature, right? But like you cannot think about it off the top of your head right away because you're not used to thinking this way, right? So remember, another important thing is
I got the booklet.
it looks
So basically, you answer every question.
Yeah, it's more helpful than this. Okay. So I'll just give you all the 3 sentences so you can have a look. So the first sentence is, it is undeniable that there are current issues regarding nature that require our immediate attention. So this is something that most people would agree with, right? And that is related to the topic. However, while some consider wildlife conservation to be top priority, others believe that there are more pressing concerns. I agree with the latter point of view. Okay, so these are the 3 sentences that you should make, okay, based on this formula. So it's not as easy as it looks because you need to be using different words. So for example, environmental problem of our time. So current issues regarding nature. Wildlife conservation to be top priority. So loss of particular species of animals and plants to be the main problem, right? So we sort of have to change the wording. And more pressing concerns, more important environmental problems, okay? So these are things that we need to go over in the course. That's right, yes. Why? Because if you are, so you can do the same in Chinese, right? So in Chinese, you can use probably 3, 4, 5 ways to say the same thing because you're a native speaker, right? So that's what they're testing to see how good you are. Okay, so here's a little trick that I can show you. How can you join sentences 2 and 3? How can you make that even shorter? So here you're presenting one point of view and the other point of view, right? So some consider this, others believe that. So an easy way you can join the two things is you just change the others belief. So if this is your view here, if you agree with this view, you just say I believe. Okay. So however, while some believe point A, I believe point B. So that's it. So you just make the intro nice, simple, straightforward. So the main takeaway here is less is more. Yeah. Okay, how much time do we have? Unfortunately, not that much time left. So here, we'll just go over the band descriptors, and then I need to get back to another class for you guys. So here, they are talking about, so this is just one of the things that they took, I think. So presents a clear position throughout the response. So this is what I was talking about. So you need to be clear from the beginning what you are, which side do you agree with. Okay, so the other thing I think the ladies asked me to very quickly explain to you guys, like how do you get a 5, 6, or 7, right? Or 8 or onwards. So basically for 5, 6, or 7, so 5 is when you are making your answer, but oftentimes the examiner has to guess, like, what does this person actually mean here, right? I'm not very sure about what this person is saying. So if this happens, even if you're using like really beautiful language and everything, you will still fall to a 5 because they don't really understand you, right? And then if you get a 6, that means you're making a lot of mistakes. Like 80% of your sentences have some sort of error in it, but the examiner can still understand what you're saying. Then you get a 6, okay? You're still using different vocabulary, you're still using advanced grammar, but you're just making too many mistakes. So for anything for 7 or above, you're aiming for at 70% accuracy. Okay, so you're doing all the things they need you to do, but you are doing it with a much higher accuracy for 7, okay, 8 and 9. So the difference between 8 and 9 obviously lies in vocabulary, because grammar-wise, you're already really good. So they just want to look at how you're able to make use of the words. Okay, so I think I will stop here, but the ladies will still be here to walk you through the rest of the talk.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
我哋用翻中文啦。
好，咁啊，頭先好多謝 Leo 嘅分享啦，咁而家就翻去教書啦。咁咧，其實好，咁我 share 翻另外一個 screen 俾大家睇先。咁咧，so far 頭先即係老師教完之後，大家有冇任何嘅問題想發問啊？暫時有冇人想？Is it the same in your class？ 好，咁啊，我而家講一講，其實 呢邊讀書點讀啦。咁其實頭先 Leo 教嘅嘢係一啲我哋會喺我哋課堂裡面教嘅一啲 tips 啦。咁當然咧 IELTS 係好多嘢要識嘅，好多嘢要學嘅。咁所以頭先 Leo 嗰短短30分鐘嘅，其實就簡單講解咗一啲 tips 俾你哋啦。咁其實咧頭先都有參加者問啊，即係講頭先 writing 嗰個 environmental issue 嗰個 topic 嘅時候就話，其實我都唔係一個 expert 嚟嘅喎，咁點算啊？我啲嘢唔識講喎。咁其實咧放心嘅，因為我哋學校呢邊咧都知道大部分嘅同學仔都係有唔同嘅 background， 大家可能熟悉嘅嘢都唔同。咁所以咧，我哋呢邊學校咧就唔係淨係分4個 paper 咁樣去教嘅，而係我哋會將咧所有 IELTS 歸類咗做15個大方向，咁啊會分15個 topic 咁樣去教大家嘅，咁就 base on呢15個 topic 去教一啲嘅讀寫聽説嘅技巧啦，同埋真係譬如一啲生字上啊，甚至乎再多少少係一啲嘅例子，都會講俾你知點樣去俾啦。因為大部分嘅同學仔其實都唔係最清楚，可能environmental 嘅佢未必最熟嘅 ，science wise 嘅佢都未必最熟嘅。咁所以我哋呢邊我哋教埋你，唔使要做到 X， 但係你起碼都要知道呢類型嘅 topic 有啲咩要注意啦。咁咧，
因為呢度補充一下啦，咁因為可能我當一個 topic 啦係教育啦，咁其實咧教育佢哋喺 writing 度 task 2啦，當頭先，其實佢已經可以問你，例如究竟education 喺個 developing countries 咧同 developed countries 嘅分別啦，或者講緊 homeschooling 咧，外國好興，例如即係唔使返學嘅，阿媽直接喺屋企教你，咁知唔知甚至 homeschooling 其實例如喺美國呢啲咁發展咗嘅國家都好興喎，其實咁點解咧？都要知多啲呢啲嘢，甚至而家 online learning 都係一個 new trend 嚟㗎，係啦。咁所以其實你每一個範圍其實都要知道究竟佢有啲咩好啊唔好嘅嘢啊，因為呢啲會影響到我都諗唔到個題寫乜嘢，咁你點樣有啲出嚟咧？咁樣
我有聽過有個學生出去嘅時候，嗰條題目係問佢 weapon control 咯。即係喺槍械管制啊咁樣，咁所以都對香港人嚟講，未必真係所有嘅題目都係最熟悉。所以點解呢邊我哋就教晒你，咁你唔使驚啦。係。咁咧，我見到有同學仔問啊 ，what kind of reading should I read to prepare the 我哋嘅 reading 咯。我有呢個可能。有冇人問啊？如果我移民，佢個要求係要考 general training 嘅，我可唔可以直接去考呢個 academic 咧？其實唔得嘅，係啦。咁你最好跟翻移民，即係佢嗰邊當局嘅要求就最穩陣啦。咁但係
咁我呢度補充一下先，其實咧我哋嘅教材咧就會 based on academic 嘅，但係我哋好多學生其實佢哋要考 general 咧，佢哋過往上我哋啲堂去例如攞 open exam 嗰啲都冇問題，係因為其實頭先 Leo 同你哋講咗 academic 同 general 嘅分別啦，淨係得 reading 嗰份卷簡單啲嚟講 reading academic 長少少，係啦。咁跟住之後 writing 嗰方面咧係 task 1 general 寫信，即係可能投訴信啊，或者寫信俾朋友啊咁樣。咁但係 general academic task 1係寫數據，所以其實如果你哋成日都聽人哋講話 general 容易啲咧，其實你問所有識 IELTS 嗰啲人咧，即係例如啲老師啊，其實我哋會答你 reading 上係 general 會容易啲，但係反而其實咧係 writing 上咧 academic 會容易啲係 task 1，因為好多 structure 嘢可以撥咯。係啦，
咁我要大家都好多問題，咁但係或者我哋容許我哋後面先再一次過，我哋陣間有 Q&A question 嘅，再慢慢一次去答你啲問題。咁我講多少少，譬如呢一邊我哋讀書係點樣讀先啦。咁其實咧，我哋分開咗，頭先咪講分開咗15個 modules 嘅，咁可以俾大家望一望。其實到時譬如我哋每一個 modules 就會分唔同嘅題目啦。咁你可以見到其實就係每一個 topic 咧，我哋都會再教你讀寫聽説嘅技巧嘅。咁你就好清楚知道邊個題目喺邊份卷考嘅時候，我有啲咩要注意啦，係啦。然之後咧嗱，咁我哋其實15個 modules 嘅 topic 啦，其實我哋有分2個teaching mode 去教大家嘅，一個咧係 online 嘅，純 online 嘅，即係唔係因為而家疫情嘅原因，我哋任何時候都係 online 嘅。另外一個咧就係真係實體上堂嘅班嚟嘅。咁我哋一個60個鐘頭嘅 online IELTS 課堂啦， 咁佢就會 base on 頭先我講嗰15個 module 去教，亦都會教晒你4份卷嘅。咁呢個班咧其實就上4個月左右。咁啊，每個星期就2堂嘅，每堂2個鐘，就係逢星期6日嘅12點到2點鐘嘅，係啦。咁呢個班咧，你係可以無限改堂嘅。不過改堂嘅話，我哋就會俾一個片你睇，你可以喺1個星期裡面去 review， 不停咁樣 review 老師嗰堂教嘅嘢啦。咁啊，適合其實譬如如果你自己本身而家比較難啲外出啊，或者係本身你係有小朋友要照顧嘅，或者你真係唔想出街疫情好嚴重啦嘅話咧，你可以揀呢一個班，係啦。咁呢一個班嘅話就即係或者你時間好唔穩定，你成日都想轉堂，你可以無限咁樣改堂，咁你就可以揀呢個班啦。咁但係你話唔係喎，其實我有呢一個持續進修基金嘅，我都想上實體堂嘅，咁你咧就可以揀我哋呢一個90個鐘頭嘅 IELTS 課堂啦。咁佢其實係一個實體嘅課堂嚟嘅，係啦。咁啊，其實個 syllabus 同60個鐘頭嗰班咧都基本上係一樣嘅，不過咧佢就會個課堂時間長少少啦，佢3個鐘頭一堂嘅，頭先嗰班就2個鐘頭一堂。咁呢一個嘅話咧，其實我哋平日嘅夜晚啦，7至10點啦，或者咧我哋星期2同星期5都係下晝嘅班嘅，咁啊11到2啦，咁啊星期6日都有堂嘅。咁呢個班咧其實可以申請呢個持續進修基金嘅。咁如果你自己本身可能已經夠咗18歲啦，你緊諗住離開香港啦，咁可以喺離開香港之前用埋政府嗰啲錢去啦，唔用就嘥咗㗎啦。係啦，咁咧其實如果你想揀嗰90個鐘頭嗰個班有雙持續進修基金嘅話咧，時間上係點樣分配咧？其實我哋好多時間俾你揀嘅。咁我哋6間可以上 IELTS 嘅分校裏邊咧，我哋有17個唔同嘅時段俾你去揀啦。係啦，咁啊可以譬如你係護士又好，你輪班工作都好咧，你都可以去揀到啱你嘅 schedule。我哋都好多同學仔係護士，我知道你有好多護士嘅同學仔，係啦。咁時間上我哋就會一齊同你去夾班嘅，係啦。咁啊點樣睇嘅咧？咁你見到其實我哋有啲譬如2日都係平日夜晚嘅課堂，係啦，亦都會有一啲係星期6日嘅課堂都有。咁你自己揀。咁我哋就循環班嚟嘅，係啦。咁啊，大家我哋呢個時間我哋之後可以再講多啲。咁我哋另外咧就會有好多嘅support 啦。咁除咗有書本之外咧，其實我哋都會有一啲網上嘅學習資源啦，同埋有一啲唔同嘅活動班去俾大家練多啲英文嘅。係啦，咁我哋會有啲網上嘅學習系統，咁你可以練下，譬如你若 listening 多啲嘅，你就可以做多啲 listening 啦。咁你有21個月嘅 access 嘅，係啦。咁亦都我哋呢度嘅IELTS同學仔啦，譬如今個月入學嘅話咧，都會有一個免費嘅 support 嘅，就係可以上我哋學校嘅 social club。咁其實咧就係每一日都會有好多唔同嘅工作坊，咁啊可以俾你試下去練下英文啦。其實俾多啲機會你練嘅，咁有唔同主題，你可以揀你自己中意嘅主題去上啦。係啦。咁咧頭先我聽到有人問我哋有個 course guarantee， 係啦，冇錯啦，我哋學校呢邊咧係會有個 course guarantee 嘅。咁會有7分嘅保證嘅。咁如果你有興趣嘅話咧，就可以再問多啲我哋啦。咁啊，係啦。咁我哋今個月即係都多謝大家嚟參加我哋呢一個講座啦。咁所以我哋都會送，如果你哋有興趣到我哋呢邊嘅班嘅話咧，我哋都會送4個月嘅免費嘅工作坊俾你嘅。係啦，咁同埋今日所有嘅參加者咧，其實我哋都會送一個免費嘅 IELTS mock 俾你做啦。咁我哋會有老師同你做 speaking， 同埋講解埋譬如你而家個成績啊，同你分析下嘅。咁到時你有啲咩嘢都可以直接問我哋。係啦。
頭先答中問題嗰啲，頭先咧我哋都會約翻你上嚟攞翻呢個 tipbook 嘅。
係啦，係啦，係啦，咁啊，而家我哋可以一次過答翻大家嘅問題啦，係啦，因為頭先就見到同學仔都好多問題嘅。
話頭先有個問關於 online 個 course 嗰度有冇 oral training？ 其實我哋每一個頭先我哋講啦，我哋雖然分住15個 module， 即係好似簡單地講15個 topics 啦，但係我哋每個 topic 都會教聽講讀寫，而老師亦都會教你嚟 speaking 啊，嚟假設一啲技巧咗啦，然後之後再會可能喺 online 嗰方面咧就會 separate 去你哋唔同嘅 breakout room，咁就會大家同大家 同學就會討論，咁而老師都會聽俾翻 feedback 嘅，所以都係會有嘅。因為個 online 其實係 live 嚟嘅。咁當然上 physical 更加會有啦。仲有啲咩問題嘅？好，大家因為時間都差唔多啦，其實都係啦。咁不如咁咧，其實如果大家仲有問題，其實可以聯絡翻我哋嘅課程顧問啦。係啦，咁我哋有7間分校啦，咁我同 Helen 咧都喺佐敦嗰邊嘅，咁所以你哋都可以揾我啦，或者揾翻啲就卻你哋分校嘅地方。係啦，仲有冇其他問題嘅？好，咁跟住咧，我哋都 promote 定我哋嚟緊有啲咩課啦。我哋嚟緊咧2月17號啦，就會有個 DSE 英文保底班嘅。係啦，咁如果有啲同學都唔知會考 DSE 啊，咁樣都可以去參加啦。咁如果關於商業嘅就同 job interview 啦。咁我覺得如果你想去揾工作嗰啲就係，同埋想知道更多移民嗰啲咧，就可以去21號個工作坊。係啦，咁都可以網上登記翻。
係嗱，咁都多謝大家今日上面嚟參加呢個 online 嘅 IELTS 講座啦。好啦，咁我哋17號再見大家啦，拜拜。
拜拜。